Coming up, Alex Ovechkin reaches 800 goals in dramatic fashion. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are listening to Locked On Game to Game NHL, local experts going over the biggest stories on the ice. I am your host, Kaiani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. We're ready to recap the action for you from yesterday. We start out with Alex Ovechkin. He entered Tuesday night's game against the Blackhawks 3 goals shy of 800. And rather than dragging things out any longer, he decided to get a hat trick and then make it up to 800, also getting his team a win. Now, Locked On Capitals and Blackhawks go over all of the details from a historic night for OV.
Alex Ovechkin scores his 800th goal. Hi, this is Dan Holme of Locked On Capitals. Well, it was an historic night for the Washington Capitals and Alex Ovechkin as he scores his 800th goal. It was a hat trick goal, a special night for Alex Ovechkin. He is now 1 goal short of tying Gordie Howe for second most in goals. And then next will be Wayne Gretzky at 894. It was a game that had a lot of offensive firepower by the Washington Capitals, which saw 3 goals from Ovechkin, a goal from Mantha, Dowd, Orlov, and Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Charlie Lindgren also had a great game. He saved 26 of 29. This is a Capitals team that has now won 5 games in a row as they take down the Blackhawks tonight by a score of 7-3. They hope to keep the winning going as they take on the Dallas Stars on Thursday. Keep it locked to Locked On Capitals, and I will keep you updated on all the news with your Washington Capitals. Locked On Capitals, your team every day.
History was made at the United Center in the Blackhawks' 7-3 loss to the Washington Capitals. What's up, everyone? This is Jack Bushman from Locked On Blackhawks. Tonight, Alexander Ovechkin became just the 3rd player in NHL history to reach 800 goals on their career, netting a hat trick to lead the Caps to a 7-3 win over the Blackhawks. Honestly, a pretty dreadful defensive effort from the Blackhawks from start to finish. Ovi scored just 24 seconds into the game, winds up potting 2 more en route to history. That's really all that matters, though, from this game. Another night where the Blackhawks look like they're one of the worst teams in the entire NHL, but pretty cool to see a major accomplishment reached by Alex Ovechkin. Good on the fans in attendance at the United Center to give him some cheers, some Ovi chants raining down. It was a really cool moment at the UC, despite the Blackhawks falling short for the 18th time in their last 21 games. For more coverage on the history that was made at the United Center at the expense of the Chicago Blackhawks, be sure to go and check out tomorrow's episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Jake DeBrusk and David Pastrnak each scored in a shootout to give the Boston Bruins a 4-3 win over the New York Islanders on Tuesday night. Both Locked On Bruins and Islanders recap that tightly contested matchup.
Jake DeBrusk scored twice in 19 seconds in regulation time and then added a shootout tally to help the Boston Bruins defeat the New York Islanders here on Tuesday night. This is Ian McLaren, host of Locked On Boston Bruins, and they overcame an uncharacteristically down night for Linus Ullmark. He allowed 3 goals on 26 shots, but it was Jake DeBrusk scoring in regulation, a Derek Forbort shorthanded goal that helped them take the lead. Casey Cizikas later tied it, sending it to overtime, which settled nothing. DeBrusk and David Pastrnak scoring in the game-deciding skills competition to help the league-leading Bruins improve to 23-4-1 on the season and 15-0-1 at home. Catch all the latest on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
The New York Islanders fall to the Boston Bruins in a shootout 4-3. Good news and bad news from this game. The good news is the New York Islanders never quit. They were behind 2-0. They were behind 3-2. And each time they managed to come back, tie it at 2, tie it at 3, force overtime, and then going to a shootout. The bad news, boy, at times was this a sloppy performance. Yes, you got a point against the best team in the National Hockey League right now on the road, But one of the goals the Islanders gave up, a shorthanded goal, just too many giveaways in their own zone. And if it wasn't for Semyon Varlamov, there is no way the Islanders would have gotten the point that they got. It's a gutsy effort, but the Islanders need to do better and be more consistent, especially in their own zone. And that is not the Islanders' usual MO. For more, listen to and watch the Locked On Islanders podcast with me, Gil Martin, wherever you get podcasts.
Coming up, Leon Draisaitl goes off against one of his favorite opponents. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by BetOnline, the #1 spot for all of your online sports betting needs. You can get the latest odds and trends on whatever sport you are interested in. If it's college bowl season, if you're looking at basketball, even the World Cup, you can do that at betonline.net. It's where the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game NHL. I'm Kaiani Stevens. Thank you so much for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Los Angeles Kings lost 6-0 to the Buffalo Sabres on Tuesday and allowed 4 or more goals for the 6th time in their past 11 games. Locked On Kings looks at what's gone wrong for LA lately.
The LA Kings stage an epic collapse in Buffalo. I'm Eddie Garcia with the Locked On LA Kings podcast. If the Kings didn't know it already, it's a 3-period hockey game. The Kings dominated the opening period, outshooting Buffalo 16-3, but couldn't find the back of the net. Second period was a little more even, but LA still had 14 shots on goal, some good scoring chances, but again, couldn't light the lamp. In the third period, a complete disaster. LA allowed 6 goals, 3 of them coming on the power play in an embarrassing 6-0 loss where LA frankly quit in the third period after the third goal. LA goalie Phoenix Copley had a shutout through 2 periods, but got little support in the third. He ended up allowing all 6 goals on 31 shots. With the loss, the Kings fall to 15-12-5 on the season. They're 2-1 on their current 6-game road trip, with the final game looming against the top team in the NHL, the Boston Bruins, on Thursday. We'll have a full recap of the ugly loss to the Sabres on Wednesday's show and what fallout might come from the worst loss of the season for the LA Kings. For more, check out Locked On LA Kings wherever you get your podcasts, your team every day.
The Red Wings got shut out, losing 1-0 to the Carolina Hurricanes yesterday. Locked On Red Wings recaps that loss and a cold Detroit offense.
Well, can you get any worse than a loss in which your captain gets hurt? I'm not sure you can, but that's what happened to the Detroit Red Wings in this one, a 1-0 loss against the Carolina Hurricanes. I am Scott Bentley of Locked On Red Wings. Really just a tough game all around. The Hurricanes defense really showed out, as we knew they would, but also, stop me if you've heard this before, a rookie goaltender gets a shutout against the Detroit Red Wings. I know, really shocking stuff. The power play for the Red Wings was really brutal. Really, I guess you could say the special teams as a whole, as the one goal in this game was while the Wings were on the penalty kill. Kind of a mishap there. A lot of giveaways in their own zone, a lot of giveaways in the neutral zone. Just all around, not a very sharp game, and they paid the price for it. Ville Husso was fantastic in net again, but he can't score goals. So we'll break down the rest of the game tomorrow on Locked On Red Wings.
In-game adjustments coming up huge for the Panthers as they took down Columbus last night. Locked On Panthers is in with us to go over all the details.
The Florida Panthers wanted to get a little revenge on the Columbus Blue Jackets after laying an egg just 3 weeks ago. What is up, guys? It's Armando Velez from the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, and the Florida Panthers defeat the Columbus Blue Jackets by a final score of 4-0 at FLA Live Arena. And this was a game where the coaching staff and the players made adjustments after the first period, where in the first period, the Columbus Blue Jackets had quite a few rush chances on Sergei Bobrovsky, but he stood on his head in that period. But the Florida Panthers protected him the rest of the way, only allowing 12 shots on goal in the last 40 minutes of the game. And the top line of Alexander Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, and Sam Reinhart, all of them got multi-point nights on a night tonight. Now Matthew Tkachuk has 14 multi-point games this season for the Cats. What an incredible acquisition. And Gus Forsling, a defenseman, as well, added to the multi-point night for the Panthers. So 4 players in that category for the Cats. So listen to my recap of this 4-0 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Make sure to listen to my next episode of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast on a Winans Wednesday edition of the show. Your team every day.
Roope Hintz scored the go-ahead goal with 3 seconds left in the second period, and backup Scott Wedgewood made 35 saves against his former team as the Dallas Stars beat New Jersey 4-1. Locked On Devils and Stars recap that Dallas win in Jersey.
What's up? This is Trent Matthews of Locked On Devils. I am actually making my way to the train station so that way I could get home. Just left the Prudential Center, and the New Jersey Devils came out on the losing end once again to the Dallas Stars by a score of 4-1. So the first goal that they let up, it was kind of a fluke goal, and then the second goal was a last-second goal made by the Dallas Stars when there was literally like only a couple seconds left in period number 2, and the New Jersey Devils were just not able to respond in period number 3, letting up 2 empty netter goals, and thus they have now lost 3 in a row. So spoke to Lindy Ruff. He made some changes, including taking Brendan Smith out the lineup, Alexander Holtz out the lineup, in hopes to get more speed to match up with the Dallas Stars. Worked for the majority of the game, but unfortunately the New Jersey Devils just found themselves behind the 8 ball, too little, too late, and ultimately Dallas Stars, they're one of the best teams in the NHL, and they showed it. So they just got to rebound Thursday against Philadelphia.
The Edmonton Oilers defeated the Nashville Predators 6-3 with Leon Draisaitl scoring twice and adding 3 assists. This is Draisaitl's 22nd career game against the Predators. He now has 22 goals and 13 assists against Nashville. Our Locked On hosts from both teams look at his dominance against the Preds.
The Edmonton Oilers bounce back from a snoozer in Minnesota to win a banger in Nashville. Hi, my name is Brad Holden from Locked On Oilers, and the Edmonton Oilers win 6-3 in the Music City over the Nashville Predators, and it couldn't be done without the Edmonton Oilers' first line. Zach Hyman scores his first career NHL hat trick, also chipping in an assist. 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points for Zach Hyman, and Leon Draisaitl, well, doing Leon Draisaitl things to the Nashville Predators. 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points in this one, bringing his total to 10 points in only 6 periods against the Predators this year. And the Edmonton Oilers play the Predators again next week. Connor McDavid also getting in on the score sheet as he scores his league-leading 26th goal in this one. He also brings 3 assists to the table as he had 4 points on the night. Jack Campbell plays in his first game since December 1st as the Edmonton Oilers played the Minnesota Wild in that one. He stops 29 of the 32 fired against him, and all 8 that were thrown his way while the Edmonton Oilers were shorthanded. The Oilers improved to 17-13-0 on the season, and they look to improve on that record on Thursday as the St. Louis Blues come to town for a 7 o'clock puck drop at Rogers Place.
Nick Morgan here from the Locked On Predators podcast, and quick question, what did Nashville do to anger Leon Draisaitl? Seriously, the man now has 20 goals and 30 points in his last 10 games against the Nashville Predators. That is an average of 2 goals and 3 points per game against one team. Like, did a Hattie Beast truck run over him as a child or something like that? Who knows? Predators lost to the Oilers 6-3 tonight, and look, things are just not going well for the Nashville Predators at the moment, either off ice or on the ice. We know we've already talked about some of the discourse around some of their recent roster moves, but the Preds on the ice, that's where the problem lies. They just look a step slow. They look disingenuous. They don't look engaged during games. They're relying way too much on their goaltender trying to bail them out. And that power play. Oh, that power play. Really can't see what's wrong with the Preds, but it feels like unless something drastically changes in the next couple weeks, that this team is running into a brick wall very, very fast. So we'll see if they can turn it around. They got the Oilers again next week. So, this team is something. Tune us into Locked On Predators, and we'll talk about it.
San Jose able to hold off the Coyotes just long enough to get 2 points. Locked On Sharks is in to give you that breakdown.
The Sharks survive. I'm JD Young of Locked On Sharks, and the Sharks win 3-2 over the Desert Dogs in a game that shouldn't have been this close. The Sharks thoroughly outplayed the Coyotes for 2 periods of this game and then turtled. And the Coyotes made it close, made it a game. They were within 1 goal, but they could not get the tying score. James Reimer looked pretty solid in his first game back from injury, stopping 20 of 22 shots. And we continue to get offense from Tomas Hertl, but the Sharks continue to kind of let these tight games happen because they're unable to put away an opponent. So Lehkonen also left this game with an injury, so the Sharks are now down another forward. So luckily they have a couple days off before their next game. So I'll have a full breakdown of this game, kind of what this means for the Sharks, and if it's time to look for a prospect here to call it for reinforcement. So all that on your next episode of Locked On Sharks, wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well.
That will do it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Make sure you are subscribed to Locked On NHL and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Kaiani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.